Hi friends, this is me Payal Dutta, and in today's video I am going to help you with the line-by-line explanation of Act 2 Scene 2 from William Shakespeare's play The Merchant of Venice. Please hit the like button if you like my video and don't forget to subscribe. So let us begin. Act 2 Scene 2. The street outside Shylock's house. Enter Launcelot Gobbo. Here we find Launcelot Gobbo, Shylock's servant, wondering whether he ought to run away from his master. An inner struggle is going on between his conscience and the devil. His conscience advises him to be faithful, while the devil tempts him to run away, leaving Shylock's service. Now, this speech of Launcelot is a soliloquy. A soliloquy is a figure of speech used in a drama where a character speaks to the audience or to himself in the absence of other characters. A soliloquy reveals to the audience what the character is thinking. So Launcelot says, "Certainly my conscience will serve me to run from this Jew, my master." He means to say that his conscience will surely assist him to run away from Shylock, his master. "The fiend is at mine elbow and tempts me, saying to me..." The fiend refers to the devil. The devil is on his shoulder and he tempts him, saying, "Gobbo, Launcelot Gobbo, good Gobbo, or good Gobbo, or good Launcelot Gobbo, use your legs, take the start, run away." Here we see that the devil is asking him to run away from Shylock. On the other hand, his conscience says, "No, take heed, honest Launcelot, take heed, honest Gobbo, or as aforesaid, honest Launcelot Gobbo, do not run, scorn running with thy heels." Here, his conscience asks him to calm down and serve Shylock like he did before. His conscience says, "Do not run, scorn running with thy heels," meaning that Launcelot should not run and be utterly scornful of running or disrespectful of using his legs to run. "Well, the most courageous fiend bids me back." "Via," says the fiend, "away," says the fiend, "for the heavens rouse up a brave mind," says the fiend, "and run." The devil continuously urges him to leave. Via in Latin means on your way. "For the heavens rouse up a brave mind," says the fiend, "and run." The devil asks Launcelot to awaken his brave mind for heaven's sake. Well, my conscience, hanging about the neck of my heart, says very wisely to me, "My honest friend Launcelot, being an honest man's son, or rather an honest woman's son, for indeed my father did something smack, something grow to, for he had a kind of taste. Well, my conscience says..." So, Launcelot's conscience advises him not to run away from Shylock, as such an act of fleeing is a matter of contempt. He adds that he is a child of an honest man. To this, Launcelot feels that his conscience should have called him an honest woman's son, because old Gobbo had done something smack, hinting that he enjoyed the company of other women other than his wife. So he, according to Launcelot, was not a virtuous or an honest man. Then he goes on to say what his conscience was saying. Well, my conscience says, "Launcelot, budge not." "Budge," says the fiend. "Budge not," says my conscience. So here we see that Launcelot is in a dilemma whether he should stay or leave. Budge means to move. Now, this speech of Launcelot might initially seem very confusing. So, in order to simplify what Launcelot is facing, I would request you to go back to your old childhood memories where you used to watch Tom and Jerry. There we used to see that whenever Tom wants to kill Jerry, a good angel and a bad angel would appear. The good angel would always ask Tom to save Jerry, to free Jerry. And the bad angel would always ask him to bomb Jerry, kill. So Lancelot here too faces a same situation. His conscience is the good angel that is asking him to serve Shylock, while the devil, the fiend, is asking him to leave Shylock. So Lancelot says, "Conscience, say I, you counsel well. Fiend, say I, you counsel well." So Lancelot turns to Conscience and says that yes, your advice is good. And then he looks at the devil and says that yes, your advice is good too. To be ruled by my conscience, I should stay with the Jew, my master, who, God bless the mark, is a kind of devil. So Lancelot says that if he follows what his conscience has to say, then he has to stay with Shylock. And Shylock was a kind of devil. Okay. And to run away from the Jew, I should be ruled by the fiend, who, saving your reverence, is the devil himself. So if he follows what the devil said and ran away from Shylock, then he would be following the devil himself. He says, saving your reverence, meaning with all due respect. Lancelot is apologizing to the audience for using such a strong language. Certainly the Jew is the very devil incarnation. Here Lancelot refers to Shylock as the Jew, who was a devil in flesh and blood. And in my conscience is but a kind of hard conscience to offer to counsel me to stay with the Jew. The fiend gives me more friendly counsel. I will run, fiend, my heels are at your commandment, I will run. So Lancelot says that his conscience truly is a very strict one, as it's advising him to stay with Shylock the Jew. On the other hand, his fiend is asking him to run, which according to Lancelot is a much more friendlier advice. Finally, we see that Lancelot decides to run away from Shylock, following the devil's advice. The theme of racial discrimination is brought out in Lancelot's decision to run away, because he runs away from the Jew to serve a Christian, that is Bassanio. While Lancelot is making his choice, enters old Gobbo with a basket. Old Gobbo is Lancelot's father. He was blind and had come in search of his son. He does not recognize Lancelot and he asks him, "Master, young man, I pray you, which is the way to the master Jews?" Gobbo knew that Lancelot served Shylock. Thus he asked Lancelot, thinking him to be a stranger, the direction to Shylock's house. On seeing his father, Lancelot makes an aside. An aside is a literary device used in a drama where the character speaks to the audience in the presence of other characters, but it is to be assumed that the other characters cannot hear him. So Lancelot says, "O heavens, 'tis my true begotten father, who, being more than sand blind, high gravel blind, knows me not." So Lancelot calls Gobbo his true begotten father. He means to say that Gobbo was the one who truly created him and was his own father. Lancelot says that his father was gravel blind and not sand blind, meaning that he was completely blind and not half blind, because he failed to recognize his own son. So now Lancelot is in a very, funny mood. So he decides to confuse his father. I will try confusions with him. When Gobbo asks Lancelot the directions to Shylock's house, Lancelot says, "Turn up on your right hand at the next turning, but at the very next turning of all on your left, marry. At the very next turning, turn off no hand, but turn down directly to the Jew's house." Here we see how Lancelot confuses Gobbo by giving him wrong directions to Shylock's house. Lancelot here adds to the entire comic relief in the play. Now Gobbo is confused. Confused, blind Gobbo sighs. By God's Saunties, 'twill be a hard way to hit. Can you tell me whether one Launcelot that dwell with him or not? Saunties refer to saints. So Gobbo says that it would be a very difficult way to find. He asks Launcelot, not knowing that he is speaking to Launcelot himself, whether Launcelot still lived with Shylock or not. To this Launcelot replies, "Talk you of young Master Launcelot?" Aside, mark me now, I will raise the tears. "Talk you of young Master Launcelot?" Here we see that Launcelot uses high-sounding words in his conversation with Gobbo. He does this to impress him. He wants to show that he possesses the classical learning of a gentleman. Shakespeare here wants to convey to the audience the habit of some people in his time who pretended to be something they were not. Okay, so he says that I will raise the waters. By raise the waters, Launcelot means to bring tears in Gobbo's eyes. So when Launcelot asks him that, do you want to know about Master Launcelot? Gobbo replies, "No master, sir, but a poor man's son. His father, though I say it, is an honest, exceedingly poor man, and God be thanked, well to live." So Gobbo says that Launcelot was no master, and that his father was a poor, honest man who was in good health. Launcelot immediately brings back the conversation on Master Launcelot, asking Gobbo not to discuss about his father. He says, "Well, let his father be what will. We talk of young Master Launcelot." Gobbo, "Your worship friend and Launcelot, sir." Launcelot, "But I pray you, ergo, old man, ergo, I beseech you, talk you of Master Launcelot. Ergo is the Latin term for therefore. Launcelot does not know the meaning, but he uses it to pretend that he was a gentleman who knew very high-sounding words. Launcelot continues to call Launcelot a master, to which Gobbo objects. Launcelot says, "Ergo, Master Launcelot, talk not of Master Launcelot, father, for the young gentleman, according to the fates and destinies and such odd sayings, the sisters three and such branches of learning, is indeed deceased, or as you would say in plain terms, gone to heaven." Here Launcelot informs Gobbo that his son is dead. Launcelot informs Gobbo that according to fates and destinies, his son has died. Here, the sisters three refers to the three goddesses in classical Greek mythology who controlled human destiny, namely Lachesis, Atropos, and Clotho. Here we see that Launcelot calls Gobbo father. Father was a common way of addressing old men. Here Launcelot uses it to evoke comedy. Old Gobbo is stunned on hearing that his son is dead. He says, "Marry, God forbid! The boy was the very stuff of my age, my very prop." He says that Launcelot was his only support in his old age. Launcelot makes an aside where he says, "Do I look like a cudgel or a hovel post, a stuff or a prop? Do you know me, father?" So Launcelot means to say that was he supposed to look like a main timber supporting a poor house? So he asked Gobbo, "Do you know me, father?" Gobbo confesses, "Alack the day, I know you not, young gentleman, but I pray you tell me, is my boy, God rest his soul, alive or dead. So Gobbo confesses that he is half blind and that he cannot recognize the stranger. He wishes to know whether his son is alive or dead. So to this Launcelot says, "Nay, indeed, if you had your eyes, you might fail of the knowledge of the knowing me. It is a wise father that knows his own child." So Launcelot again over here inverts the proverb. You see, it is a wise child that knows his own father. So Launcelot is inverting it, saying that it is a wise father that knows his child. He does this to evoke comedy and decides to tell Gobbo about his son. "Well, old man, I will tell you the news of your son." And he kneels down before his father and he asks for his blessing. He says, "Give me your blessing. Truth will come to light. Murder cannot be hid long. A man's son may, but in the end, truth will come out." Launcelot says that murder and a man's son cannot be hid for a long time. Now this is very dramatic. When Gobbo asks him to stand up, he hesitates to believe that the person he is speaking to is Launcelot, his son. And when Launcelot mentions the name of his mother, Margery, as a proof to show that he is his son, he says, "I know not what I shall think of that, but I am Launcelot, the Jew's man, and I am sure Margery, your wife, is my mother." Now Gobbo agrees that Margery was his wife, and he touches Launcelot's face. "Lord worshipped mighty be, what a beard hast thou got! Thou hast got more hair on thy chin than Dobbin, my Phil horse, has on its tail." He means to say that Launcelot had a very bushy beard. He says that Launcelot had more hair on his chin than Dobbin, his horse, had in its tail. A Phil horse is one that works in fills. It is a cart horse. On hearing this, Launcelot feels that Dobbin's tail must be growing shorter. He says that he remembers the last time he saw him, he had more hair on his tail than Launcelot had on his face. Gobbo then asks Launcelot about his relationship with his master Shylock, how far they suit each other. He also tells Launcelot that he has bought him a present. That is, he has bought Shylock a present. Launcelot then tells Gobbo about his decision to leave Shylock. He says, well, but for mine own part, as I have set up my rest to run away, so I will not rest till I have some ground." He says he will not rest till he has made quite a distance from Shylock. "My master's a very Jew. He give him a present, give him a halter." Here again we see that Launcelot hated Shylock because he was a Jew. So again he brings in racial discrimination and hatred. He asks old Gobbo to give Shylock a halter, that is a rope to hang himself and kill himself. He tells Gobbo that he starved at Shylock's house. Here again Launcelot uses a reversal. Instead of saying that he could count his ribs with his fingers, he says that he could count his fingers with his ribs. He does this to exaggerate his miserable condition. He says, "I am famished in his service. You may tell every finger I have with my ribs. Father, I am glad you are come. Give me your present to one Master Bassanio, who indeed gives rare new liveries." Launcelot says that he is pleased to see his father and he asks him to give the present to Bassanio, who gives new jobs to others. If I serve not him, I will run as far as God has any ground. O rare fortune, here comes the man. To him, father, for I am a Jew. If I serve the Jew any longer, he informs Gobo that Bassanio would be his new master and that he would serve him. And if he did not serve Bassanio, then he would distance himself from Shylock as much as possible, because he feared that he would become a Jew if he stayed with the Jew any longer. Now you must be wondering why Shakespeare added this scene in the play. This play was originally performed on stage. The audience needed a comic relief because in the previous scene in Venice, we have seen that the Bond story was taking place, which depicted a very serious mood because Antonio had agreed to sign a bond with Shylock that stipulates a pound of flesh. So Lancelot's speeches in this scene, where he gives Gobbo wrong directions, then Gobbo comparing Lancelot's beard to his horse's tail, adds on to the comedy. So from this scene, we also learn that Gobbo was very fond of his son. When he learns that Lancelot is dead, Gobbo is extremely shocked and he laments that he has lost his only prop. So as these two are having a conversation, Bassanio enters with his servants. And Lancelot shows his father Bassanio and they walk towards him. Now enter Bassanio with Leonardo and other servants. Bassanio says, "You may do so, but let it be so hasted that supper be ready at the farthest by 5 o'clock. See these letters delivered, put the liveries to making, and desire Gratiano to come anon at my lodging." And the servant exits. Here Bassanio is instructing one of his servants to make proper arrangements for dinner party which he was going to host that night. Haste means quick. He tells the servant that dinner should be ready by 5 o'clock. He also orders him to deliver the letters, send the uniforms that are to be made, and to inform Gratiano to come anon, meaning to come at once in his lodging. Taking orders from his master, the servant leaves. Lancelot and Gobbo meet Bassanio. Lancelot asks Gobbo to speak to Bassanio. Gobbo greets Lancelot's new master and Bassanio says, "Gramercy, what ist thou ought with me?" Gramercy comes from a French term. The French term grand merci, meaning many thanks. Bassanio thanks Gobbo for greeting him and he asks what he wants from him. To this, Gobbo introduced Lancelot, his son, to Bassanio, calling him a poor boy. On hearing that, Lancelot says, "Not a poor boy, sir, but the rich Jew's man." That would, "sir, as my father shall specify." So Lancelot means to say that he served the rich Jew, Shylock. "He hath a great infection, sir, as one would say, to serve." Gobbo tells Bassanio that Lancelot had a great desire to serve. Now Lancelot realizes that his father had wrongly used the term infection instead of affection. So in order to make Bassanio understand, he interrupts and tells, "Indeed, the short and the long is, I serve the Jew, and have a desire, as my father shall specify." We see that Lancelot is continuously reminding Gobbo of what he should say. The short and the long is means the main purpose of our conversation is to say that he wants to serve Bassanio and had a desire to do it, but Gobbo has not mentioned it yet. So Lancelot says that my father shall specify. So Gobbo says, "His master and he, saving your worship's reverence, are scarce cater cousins." Master here refers to Shylock and he refers to Lancelot. Saving your worship's reverence, meaning with all due respect. Here, Gobbo apologizes to Bassanio for referring to Shylock and Launcelot's relationship like that of scarce cater cousins. Now, cater cousins means good friends. Gobbo says that Launcelot and Shylock's relation was scarcely good. That is, not a healthy one at all. So Launcelot says, to be brief, the very truth is that the Jew, having done me wrong, doth cause me, as my father being, I hope, an old man, shall fructify unto you. Here Launcelot informs Bassanio that Shylock had wronged him, and that old Gobbo would fructify him, that is, notify him of what wrong was done to him. Gobbo had brought a dish of doves, which he was supposed to give to Shylock. On Launcelot's request, he decides to give it to Bassanio instead. And he says, I have here a dish of doves that I would bestow upon your worship, and my suit is. Suit means request. Here Gobbo gives Bassanio the dish of doves as a kind of bribe to keep his request. Launcelot sees that his father is beating around the bush, instead of telling Bassanio what is the main purpose of their conversation. So he says, in very brief, the suit is impertinent to myself. As your worship shall know by this honest old man, and though I say it, though old man, yet poor man, my father, he says that the request is relevant to him. He uses impertinent instead of pertinent. This shows that he lacked good vocabulary. Bassanio asks one of them to speak, because now Bassanio is also confused and he cannot understand what these people are wanting. So he asks one of them to speak, to which Launcelot says that he desires to serve him. Gratiano, that is the very defect of the matter, sir. Here again Gobbo means to say that this was the very effect of the matter. But he says defect. He means to say that Launcelot's desire to serve Bassanio was the conclusion of their conversation, the very purpose. Bassanio grants their request and says, Shylock thy master spoke with me this day, and hath preferred thee, if it be preferment to leave a rich Jew's service to become the follower of so poor a gentleman. He informs Launcelot that Shylock spoke with him and he recommended Launcelot to him. He says that if Launcelot wants to leave a rich Jew to work for a poor gentleman, that is he himself, then he was welcome to do so. Launcelot, the old proverb is very well parted between my master Shylock and you, sir. You have the grace of God, sir, and he hath enough. Here Launcelot reminds Bassanio of the old proverb, that is, the grace of God is gear enough, meaning that the man who has the grace of God has all that he needs for salvation. Launcelot says that this proverb could be used to differentiate Shylock from Bassanio. As a Christian, Bassanio had the grace of God, and as a rich man, Shylock had enough. Bassanio, thou speakest it well. Go, father, with thy son. Take leave of thy old master and inquire at my lodging out. So Bassanio is pleased with Launcelot. He asks old Gobbo to accompany Launcelot and visit Shylock. He then asks him to inquire my lodging out, that is, to make their way to his lodging after meeting Shylock. He turns to one of his servants and asks him to provide Launcelot with a uniform with more gold braid on it than any other servant. Give him a livery more guarded than his fellows. See it done. His fellows here refer to the other servants. The additional decoration may indicate that Launcelot is to be Bassanio's gesture. Launcelot tells Gobbo, Father, I cannot get a service. No, I have ne'er a tongue in my head. Here we see that Launcelot is joking. He is certain that he is going to get to serve Bassanio, but he says exactly the opposite of what he means. He asks Gobbo to go inside. He says that Bassanio would not accept his service because he could not speak well. He then looks at his palm and says, "Well, any man in Italy have a fairer table which doth offer to swear upon a book, I shall have good fortune." So Launcelot means to say that if any man in Italy had a palm good enough to swear on a Bible, it was his hand. Here he pretends to be a palmist telling his own fortune. A fairer table refers to a fairer hand, and the book here refers to the Bible. Go to. Here's a simple line of life. Here's a small trifle of wives. On the palm of one's hand, a line passes round the ball of the thumb. That is called the line of life. Here Launcelot is counting the number of unbroken lines connecting the thumb to the line of life because it was supposed to indicate the number of wives a man will have. Here's a small trifle of wives. Alas, 15 wives is nothing. So after reading his palm, Launcelot foretells that he shall have 15 wives. But he feels that 15 wives was a small number. He says that he will marry a large number of wives. 11 widows and 9 maids is a simple coming in for one man. And then to escape drowning thrice and to be in peril of my life with the edge of a feather bed. Here Launcelot says that he will marry a large number of wives, 11 widows and 9 maids. He says that marrying so many is a simple coming for a man. Launcelot here thinks of the dowries that his wives will bring along with them. He refers to their coming of income. Now Launcelot further reads his palm and says that he would drown 3 times and his life would be in danger when he would be caught in bed with another man's wife. But even then, according to the lines on his palms, it shows that he would escape these troubles too. Well, if Fortune be a woman, she is a good wench for this gear. Fortune is being personified here. Personification is a figure of speech where you give human-like qualities to a non-living entity. Fortune here is seen as a female, and we know that the goddess of fortune was blind, as she was inconsistent in giving her favors to mankind. Launcelot says that if Fortune was a woman, then she was very good at her business. He then tells Gobbo to accompany him to Shylock's house so that he could take his leave as soon as possible. He says, "Father, come, I'll take my leave of the Jew in the twinkling." And then Launcelot leaves with Gobbo. From Act 1, Scene 3, we know that Bassanio was going to Belmont to win Portia. So he makes arrangements for this venture to Belmont. He tells Leonardo was one of his servants, "I pray thee, good Leonardo, think on this. These things being bought and orderly bestowed." He asked Leonardo to put away the things bought in order on the boat which was supposed to take him to Belmont. He asked him to return quickly. "Return in haste, for I do feast tonight my best esteemed acquaintance. Hie thee, go." Bassanio reminds Leonardo of the dinner party he was supposed to host that night. He also tells him that he had invited someone who was very respected by him. Leonardo says that he will give his best efforts to obey Bassanio's instructions. This is when Gratiano enters with a suit, that is a request. Leonardo leaves and Gratiano tells Bassanio that he wanted a favor from him. He says, "You must not deny me, I must go with you to Belmont." Bassanio agrees to keep Gratiano's request, but he gives him some advice that he must follow. So Bassanio is saying, "Why, then you must. But hear thee, Gratiano, thou art too wild, too rude, and bold of voice. Parts that become thee happily enough, and in such eyes as ours appear not false. But where thou art not known, why, there they show something too liberal." Bassanio tells Gratiano that he is too wild, rude, and bold of voice. He is uncontrollable, blunt and rough. These things look good to him, and his faults were all acceptable to his friends because they knew him. But in places where he was unknown, his nature might be misunderstood as something too liberal, that is, too free and unmannerly. Pray thee, take pain to ally with some cool drops of modesty thy skipping spirit, lest through thy wild behavior I be misconstrued in the place I go to, and lose my hopes. Bassanio requests Gratiano to take the pain, that is, to take care of the acts that he is going to perform, that is, to be more serious with a drop of decency. Bassanio fears that Gratiano's skipping spirit, that is, his boisterous nature and his wild behavior, might be misunderstood, and this misunderstanding in Belmont would prove to break and ruin his hopes of marrying Portia. Gratiano promises to behave in a proper manner, and he says, "Senior Bassanio, hear me. If I do not put on a sober habit, talk with respect, and swear but now and then, wear prayer books in my pocket, look demurely," he says that he would put on a sober habit, that is, both respectable clothes and act in a serious manner. He would talk with respect and swear only once in a while. He would carry prayer books in his pockets and look most shy. Nay, more, while grace is saying, hood mine eyes, thus with my hat and sigh, and say amen. Thus, use all the observance of civility like one well studied in a sad ostent to please his granam. Never trust me more. He says that during the grace before meals, he will cover his eyes with his hat and solemnly say amen. He promises to use all the outward forms of good manners. He would do everything that politeness demands, as though he was trying to please his grandmother by showing how quiet and a sad absent, that is, a serious person he was. He then tells Bassanio that if he fails to keep his words, never to trust him again. Bassanio agrees to this, and he agrees to see how Gratiano will conduct himself at Belmont. To this, Gratiano says that he would conduct solemnly, and he would look like a solemn-looking person from the very next day. He tells Bassanio not to judge him in the dinner party that he was going to host that night. Nay, but I bar tonight you shall not gauge me by what we do tonight. Bar tonight means to make an exception tonight. Bassanio admits that it would be a pity if Gratiano was serious at the party. He says, I would entreat you rather to put on your boldest suit of mirth, for we have friends that purpose merriment. But fare you well, I have some business. Bassanio tells Gratiano that his rude behavior will be accepted for a particular night. He wants that night to be one of merriment and mirth. He will be very sorry to see that Gratiano is sad in his party. So he says that he would prefer him to be the way he is, that is, in his wildest spirits, with his boldest suit of mirth. By boldest suit of mirth, Bassanio not only refers to Gratiano's amusing manners, but also his party costume. Saying this, Bassanio tells Gratiano that he has some business and so he must leave. So Gratiano says that I too must leave because I have to meet Lorenzo. And I must to Lorenzo and the rest, but we will visit you at supper time. So he says that I have to leave because I have to meet Lorenzo and I promise to meet you at supper, at dinner. And they both leave. So this is the end of Act 2, Scene 2. Please hit the like button if you like my video and don't forget to subscribe. If you have any questions from this scene, feel free to ask me in the comment section below and I will definitely reply. Thank you.